Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. This is your host, AJ speaking. Welcome to the show. I'm going to be talking about Ukraine today and Russia. So, before I start talking about this story, I want to thank all of my supporters, subscribers, viewers who have been supporting me so far. Thank you for everyone that's viewed my last video. My last video managed to get 20k views, which means everything you guys have been doing, like watching the video, liking, sharing, commenting, it's all helped. And you can see how that's very, very important for you guys to do that, to push the video out, which means more people see it and obviously brings great results. So I really want to give my warm thanks and appreciation for everyone that's been doing that. And I just want to ask you to carry on doing that. It does help the channel and it does help me as well. Also, I'm looking for 5 more people to join my locals. This helps me kind of carry on with the channel and able to kind of put more time into it. And at the moment, I'm doing this new job, which takes up a lot of my time. So I'm finding it extremely hard and harder to make videos. So your support helps. It allows me to focus on YouTube and continue working on it full time. So thanks for a lot, and I'll carry on with the video. So for my first story, Mr. Zelensky has made a surprise trip to the United States. And as an extra bonus, he managed to get himself 1.85 billion, which is not bad for a professional beggar. And I've got a few questions. First of all, who paid for his trip to the United States? Because I'm sure Ukraine is struggling with money right now. Secondly, why is he wearing the same green uniform? Thirdly, how did he fly out of Ukraine? Because I'm sure Russia would have been monitoring the skies with any military aircraft going in and out. And finally, why does Biden look like he doesn't recognize Zelensky? I mean, look at Biden here. He's trying to figure out who he is. He's got his arms around him, thinking, "Oh, where have I met you again? Where have I seen you before?" And Zelensky's like, "It's me. It's me." Oh my God, it's so funny. And there's a picture here of Zelensky giving Biden a medal, and Biden is looking at it thinking, what the hell is this? I mean, look at his face. He does not look pleased with this fake medal or whatever. So why is he gone to United States? Why can't he do everything using Zoom call like he normally does? Why does he need to go to the United States? Well, if you go back to the time when Afghan Ghani was the leader of Afghanistan, or the fake puppet, as you would say, he went to the United States on the eve of the Taliban taking over, and he went there as an act of desperation to ask United States for a lot of money. And he said to Biden at the time, "Listen, we need lots of money, we need lots of weapons. If you don't give it to us, then Taliban would take over within a week." And Biden was like, "Don't be ridiculous. Don't be stupid. You gotta stand up in front of the press and you gotta say everything is fine. You got that? You get me?" And that's what he did. So he stood in front of the press and made Afghan Ghani basically speak to the whole world, saying, "Yeah, everything is fine, everything is cushy, everything is fine and dandy." So basically, they weren't having any of it. They didn't give him any money, they didn't give him any weapons. But as a PR stunt, they wanted him to basically say everything was fine. And Biden was on record saying Afghan would not be taken over by Taliban over his dead body. And guess what? A week later, Taliban took over, and Afghan Ghani ran away from the country, taking billions of banknotes with him. There's stories about how he put all of these dollars into vans, and these vans basically um, dumped them on a helicopter, and he couldn't take all the money in the helicopter, so he had to dump most of it, and he just flew off and disappeared. Nobody knows where he is right now yet. Something he's in Qatar, Others think he's somewhere else. Anyway, this is the same thing happening to Zelensky. Zelensky is very, very desperate, and he's gone to the United States as a last gasp effort to get as much money as he can and to get as much weapons as he can. And he's probably saying the same thing to Biden, as Afghan Ghani said to Biden at the time. If you don't give us weapons, if you don't give us money, we're going to collapse, we're going to lose in a week. So the fact that he's gone now shows that he's very desperate and Ukraine is very close to collapse, and this is why he's gone. So the look on Biden's face, you can tell that, he's not having any of it. He's probably going to tell Zelensky to say the same thing that he told Afghan Ghani, to tell the press everything is fine, everything is dandy, Russia is still losing, Ukraine is still winning. Yeehaw, yeehaw, let's celebrate. That's what he's going to tell Zelensky, and that's what Zelensky's going to do. So, so that's the thing, guys. Nothing new, and I probably expect, Ukraine to be falling apart over the next few weeks. I don't know if they can last, because there's no money coming in. There's nobody with any jobs. No businesses are running in Ukraine right now. There's no electricity. Infrastructure is pretty much destroyed. People are running for the refugee camps on the borders. People are escaping the country. People who are left in Ukraine got no electricity, no hot water, no heating, and it's very, very cold there right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ukraine absolutely collapses over the next few weeks. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So going back to my first question, who the hell is paying for Zelensky's trip to the United States? Well, it looks like it's going to come out of this 1.7 trillion bill that's about to be passed in Congress. And probably they asked Zelensky to come in, cry a little in front of Congress, beg them, and shed a few crocodile tears, and then get his wife to do the same thing, and they're just going to pass it. And this is what they're going to do: 1.7 trillion. And the question on everyone's minds is, is defense a priority right now, or is the economy a priority? There's people who are suffering with high inflation, high cost of living right now in the United States. So many people that are homeless. Why not, give these homeless people a place to live? And that would only take like 10, 20 million or something like that. Rather than, give these homeless people a place to live in winter, they rather pass this bill for 1.7 trillion. I mean, is the United States being invaded by aliens or something? Why do they need a defense bill this high? I mean, I'm going to do a separate channel where I'm going to be talking about this bill and taking it apart piece by piece. I might invite Brian from New Atlas to go through it with me, but that is a separate channel in itself, separate talking point. But it's a huge bill to pass, especially during this economic times of, where people are losing their homes, losing their business. Shouldn't it be a priority to make sure people are fed, people are, warm, people are safe in the United States? Shouldn't the economy come first? I mean, who is invading USA? Nobody. So why do they need such a huge bill? I just don't understand. And I believe that I read somewhere that part of this bill there is money to go to not just Ukraine but also to Taiwan as well. So they're going to be stirring up trouble in that part of the world as well with China. So that's a separate discussion in itself. So I'm going to park it for a bit and come back to this in the future. So the second story, you see, U.S. is sending Patriot missiles to Ukraine, and again, this is another step by the U.S. And the U.S. seems to take things, everything they do, they take in a step-by-step approach. Every single, you know, everything they do, basically. So, in the start of the war, they refused to give Patriot missiles to Ukraine. They said they will not allow missiles to go into Russian territory. They will not allow US missiles to hit Russian territory because they are afraid of escalation. And guess what? Since then, it's been a long way since then. Since then, there's been attacks in Russian territory. The Crimean Bridge was blown up. There's attacks on nuclear power plants. There's attacks deep into airports in Russia as well. So, you know, a lot has happened, and even Russia has said they have actually managed to shoot down U.S. missiles over Russian territory as well. So US has basically said, oh, you know what? Yeah, let's sell them Patriot missiles. And this is what they do. They like to do things in a step-by-step approach. When it comes to China, you can see how they're doing things in a step-by-step approach. One day they'll say this, another day they'll send another delegation, they'll send an aircraft carrier, another day they'll put some restrictions and sanctions on China. Another day they'll send Pelosi to China. They like to do things step by step, and this is exactly what they're doing here. They like to slowly, slowly escalate, slowly, slowly escalate, and this is the latest line of escalation. However, these Patriot missiles are going to be absolutely useless in Ukraine. First of all, you're going to need to deliver them to Ukraine, and these are not going to be delivered in a few weeks. They're probably going to be delivered in a few months, probably 6 months from now. And then you're going to have to train them as well. You've got to train, I think each Patriot missile requires about 90 people to operate it because these are very technologically advanced systems, and you've got to train people for at least 6 months, if not a year. It's not something you can do in a number of weeks. It's going to take 6 months to a year of training, as these are very advanced systems. And then you're going to have to kind of find a way to move around in the battlefield without Russia blowing them up. Same thing happened to the HIMARS as well. So it's going to be extremely difficult. And if the HIMARS have been absolutely useless in Ukraine, these are going to be even more useless. And is it going to be too little, too late? Well, I think so. By the time these are delivered, people are trained, you might find the war is already over. Either Ukraine's collapsed or surrendered, or Russia has literally taken most of it anyway. So I don't think they're going to make any sort of difference whatsoever. So what's Russia's response to this? Russia has released their Satan2 hypersonic intercontinental nuclear missile. So while United States is playing around with the Patriot missiles, Russia is releasing their next version of the Satan2 hypersonic nuclear missiles, and this is a message to not only USA but to also to NATO and all of its allies around Europe as well. And going back to the Patriots have been absolutely useless in wars. I mean, they have not been able to stop basic missiles coming from the Houthis, drones coming from the Houthis, attacking Saudi oil installations. These Patriot missiles have not been able to stop that. They've not been able to stop Iraqi Scud missiles during the Iraqi Gulf War. And there were stories about how these Patriot missiles were shooting Allied aircraft rather than Iraqi missiles. So they have been absolutely useless, and you can understand why, because the US is a very technologically advanced country with very technologically advanced military hardware, and they are like a football team where back in the day when Barcelona were winning every single match, and same with Real Madrid, they had an amazing attacking force. They had all the best players in attack. However, they didn't really have anyone good in defense. And same with Real Madrid, they didn't really have anyone good in defense. But it doesn't really matter because when you have so many great attacking players, you will always score more goals than your opponent. And this is the same tactic United States is doing. They are putting all their money into attacking weapons rather than defensive weapons. And this is why Patriot missiles are not very good. I mean, who the hell is going to attack the United States anyway? I mean, there's no country that's going to be stupid enough to attack the United States. United States has still got the highest military budget in the world, with all, so many nuclear missiles and stuff. Countries got to be really stupid to attack them. So this is why they don't really put much focus on defensive weapons and mainly attacking weapons, and this is what they've done all these years. So these Patriot missiles would be absolutely useless, to be honest. So there's another idiot who's been sending military aid to Ukraine, and this is Mr. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And this basically got announced today, and this is in the middle of all of these nurses absolutely striking all over UK. There's ambulance drivers striking. You know, basically Britain is on a standstill. There's people's mails are not being delivered before Christmas. Um, and people are complaining everywhere. I just walk down the streets and people are, complaining about the state of UK, blaming Rishi Sunak. And Rishi Sunak is in hiding, and apparently there's some stories about him flying to Latvia or Estonia or something. I'm not sure, but he's basically gone missing, very much like Liz Truss. He doesn't want to talk about what's happening in UK. He'd rather go missing. And the Labour leader has also gone missing as well. Keir Starmer has also gone missing. They have no basically answer to what's happening around UK, and people are even clamoring for Boris to return as well. And you can see here how there's lots of articles about UK economy is facing serious challenges. I made a story a couple of days ago how the British insurance market is about to collapse as well because of these ridiculous oil price caps. The financial market has been collapsing ever since Brexit. A lot of these banks have been moving across to Frankfurt, Paris, Amsterdam, even to Ireland, to Dublin, even. And, slowly basically London has been chipped away, chip by chip, and it's all breaking down all of a sudden over the last few years. And to make matters worse, Rishi Sunak basically wants to limit foreign student coming into UK as well. Just to think that, he can't be even more stupid than he is. I mean, foreign students, pay a lot to UK universities, and not only that, they pay a lot to the UK economy, because a lot of students who come from China, for example, they shop in designer shops and buy lots of designer gear here as well. They do a lot of shopping. So it helps boost the UK economy. And when you start limiting foreign students, less money will go to UK universities, and less money obviously will go in the UK economy when these students, splash out and stuff. So for Rishi Sunak to do that, it just shows how weak and dumb he is. He really has no clue whatsoever. So here he is having a go at Boris Johnson. And I just found this article really funny. I just found it absolutely funny. And look at what Rishi Sunak has said. I specifically made the point about inflation and interest rate risk at the time when many people were telling me I could rely on rock bottom interest rates forever and borrowing was fine and we could spend what we liked. Sunak expressed regret, basically. So he was basically talking to Boris at the time. And can I just remind everyone that he was the Chancellor of the Exchequer, which means he was in charge of all the budget and the finance and everything like that. So he was in charge when all this was going on. And for him to blame Boris, I think this is like a cheap shot, because basically, why doesn't he blame himself? I mean, if he thought that all of these inflation and interest rate risks were happening at the time, why didn't he do something about it? Because he was the Chancellor, he had all the power. So for him to go around and blame Boris when he was the Chancellor, it's just a cheap shot, if you ask me. So the story is about, Boris basically coming back, and he could be back in UK Conservative leader as Prime Minister early as next spring, because As you know, with all everything that's going on right now, with all these strikes, Britain is literally on a standstill at the moment, and it's losing so many billions and billions. It's losing throughout these rail strikes, mail strikes, nurses striking. There's a lot of mayhem going on in UK, and things are going to get even worse because recently they've announced interest rates rises as well, which means people's mortgage payments will be higher, gas prices are rising, people's bills are going to be higher, and Rishi Sunak has announced tax rises as well, which means taxes are going to be higher, they're going to be taking less money home. So many issues are happening, and these are going to be getting worse and worse and worse. People are going to be losing their homes over the next few months. People are not going to be able to eat or to keep warm over the next few months. And it's just getting worse and worse at the moment. And people are saying that Rishi Sunak might not survive until next spring. He could be ousted out, like Liz Truss was ousted out. And this explains why Mr. Sunak has basically gone missing. It's not really doing anything about it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I just want to kind of show you this article. This article is from um, a UK insider paper, and you can see the title here: Russia is losing in Ukraine and will continue to fail in its war, the UK Armed Forces chief says. So can you see the stupidity? And I want to show you the date as well. So this is not something that's a few months old. This is only a few days old, December 14th, which is like a few days away. And this is coming from the UK's Armed Forces chief. So when you have the UK's Armed Forces chief this stupid, after everything that's going on in Russia, how can he stand with a straight face and say Russia is losing Ukraine? How could he stand with a straight face and say that? I mean, come on. And he's supposed to be the UK's armed forces chief. I mean, if you have a chief running your armed forces, then there's no point having an army. Because when you have an idiot like that, you might as well just give up and surrender. I mean, seriously, how stupid can you get? And it's not just him, guys. It's basically all of UK. This is from a UK paper I saw the other day as well. And you can see the second part of this article as the Russian military continues to face setbacks in Ukraine. So they're saying Russian military is continuously facing setbacks, like they've never, Russia has never won. Basically, they've always faced setbacks since the start of the war, and you can see from some of the things they're saying, and and look at these lies here. This is coming from a UK paper. The war in Ukraine has gone poorly for the Russian military, which is estimated to have suffered 100,000 casualties since invading the late February. That is bullshit, guys. That is absolute bullshit. You know, Miss, Mrs. van der Leyen basically came out recently and said Ukraine suffered 100,000 casualties, not Russia. So for them to kind of turn this around and say that Russia has suffered 100,000 casualties, it's just sounding bullshit to me. And they go on. It says Russia's forces have lost ground to Ukrainian troops. I mean, come on, have they even looked at the map? Have they looked at the map to see what Russia has taken and what Ukraine has lost? I mean, come on. Including in Ukrainian territories that Putin has illegally annexed in September last month. Russian troops retreated from Kherson, the first major city Russia captured following the invasion. I mean, come on. I mean, I can't believe these papers are still, basically going along this tune that Russia is still losing, Ukraine is still winning. I mean, can you not just stop it already? Can you not realize that people have already seen how bullshit, these stories are? I mean, absolutely ridiculous, guys. So, meantime, in Russia, Putin is basically looking to expand his armed forces to 1.5 million combat personnel. And this is basically coming from more money they're making from gas sales and oil sales as well, and also lots of kind of minerals as well. And so they're making a lot of money. So Putin's obviously going to be spending it mostly on his military to upgrade his forces. And this war in Ukraine is basically teaching Russia a lot of lessons in terms of, what they need to upgrade their military, what what lessons they've learned from this conflict as well. I'm sure they've learned a lot of lessons from this conflict because when you fight in a war, right? Nothing beats experience. When you're a country that's kind of used to fighting wars, you build up a lot of experience, and you build up a lot of know-how. And I want to kind of take you back to the time when China was fighting the civil war at the time, and and then obviously you had the Korean War, and the United States basically went along, ignored China's pleas to not to kind of invade the border between North Korea and China. And they kind of ignored that. They thought China was weak because they've been fighting the civil war for years. China had no weapons, no technological advanced weapons. They had no air force. They basically they had nothing, and USA had nothing to fear at the time. So basically, they were really being really arrogant, and they went along and basically invaded the border between North Korea and China, and they start setting up bases along the border. And what did China do? Even though they had no technologically advanced weapons at the time, they basically, fought the Americans and caused a lot of casualties to the Americans. In fact, they caused so many casualties that the Americans had to fall back, and they basically fall back. And this is where they kind of set up the median line between North Korea and South Korea, and set up the demilitarized zone because there was no end to the war, and they had to kind of sign a sign a sign a deal, an armistice, I think it was. So technically, they're still at war. But the point is, Russia from this Ukraine conflict will have picked up a lot of lessons. They would have got a lot of experience, and for NATO to be watching, they have to be very, very, very careful fighting Russia, because next time a country decides to kind of start a war with Russia, you know, Russia's not going to make the same mistakes they've made in Ukraine. They would be um, fighting better. They'll be more organized. They'll have better equipment, and all because they've kind of learned a lot of lessons from this Ukraine conflict. So, I think Russia will become stronger after this. Same way America became very strong after the American Civil War as well. When a country has a war, they always come out victorious, and the country which comes out victorious always becomes a superpower. Same thing happened to the Soviet Union as well after they beat Germany in the Second World War. Anyway, let's move on. So Russia is moving a lot of military gear and troops close to the Belarus-Ukraine border, and you can see that a couple of days ago, Putin kind of went to Belarus as well to meet the Belarus leader as well. And people are asking questions, why is Putin in Belarus? And suddenly, a day later, you see a lot of troop movements in Belarus. And I want to show you this map actually. You can see from this map. So Belarus, you can see Belarus here in the north, and Kharkiv here um, in the east of Ukraine. So I think what Russia wants to do now, mainly for a number of reasons. There was a number of attacks in Russian territory. As a couple of airports got attacks, a few people got killed. So what Russia's plans now, what they don't want what they don't want to happen is expose Russia to more attacks and things like that. So they're probably going to take the east part of Ukraine. Um, so give Russia more of a buffer zone. So it will make it harder for attacks into Russian territory, and they will go as far as the Dnipro River. And this part of the east of Ukraine is very, very rich in terms of agricultural land and minerals and, copper and other rare earth minerals as well. Is a very, very rich part of Ukraine. It's much, much better than the west of Ukraine in terms of riches. So this is probably one of the best areas for agricultural land. So if Russia takes that, they will immediately gain lots of benefits from it. There's a lot of corn that's grown there as well, wheat, and they have a lot of black soil, as they say, which is the most fertile soil in Europe. So it's a huge area of fertile soil in this area. So I think what Russia's going to do is try and take that as fast as possible. So that gives them a number of benefits. The first benefit is security. You know, Ukraine will have to attack from the other side of the river if they want to attack to Russian territory. So it's going to make it very, very difficult for them. So that's number one. And the second part is basically they will not allow Ukraine to take, the wheat and corn from this area and to sell it and make money and buy more weapons for their military and things like that. So basically, this is the reason why Russia's going to have to take that. Um, Initially, I thought they were going to take Odessa, but I think after the attacks in the Russian areas or Russian territory, Putin has changed his mind. He decided, you know what, we need to protect the Russian territory first. So let's take the east of Ukraine up to the Dnipro River, and then we'll take Odessa next year at some point. Anyway, I'm going to end this call for today. Let me know what you guys think, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you soon.